Well, it's finally that time. It's time to install all of this on the 23 Silverado so we can get supercharged and get to tuning. Stick around. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the garage, and here you see before you is the entire kit for a 2023 GMC Sierra or Chevy Silverado Whipple 3-liter supercharged kit. I've got the instructions here and I've got the parts list here because these are going to be the first couple things that we reference. This is the GM maintenance stuff that says these are the spark plugs, these are the supercharger belt, etc. It's going to go in here for now. We're going to set that crap off to the side somewhere. Okay, so one of the first things it tells you is make sure to have your ECU unlocked and ready to go. You don't want to get this stuff installed on a stock ECU. You're going to have a bad time. In fact, it says that multiple times on the first page of the instructions. So it's pretty important. The other thing is, go through your packing slip and verify that you can find all of the parts that are on this packing slip, because you don't want to get into the middle of this and realize that you're missing something. So I'm going to do that before we get started. I'm not going to make you sit through all that. I'm going to try and just film the stuff that's important. It's got a list of tools here. It's basically saying that you're going to need standard metric wrench sets, socket sets, Allen sockets, Torx sockets, and 8mm nut driver along with screwdriver set, pinch clamp tool, channel locks, wire cutters, drain pan, then blue and red Loctite. Everything should be marked for blue and red Loctite. And let's see here. Install your unlocked PCM while the vehicle is stock. Verify there's no codes. Before installing the supercharger, verify the condition. Make sure that the condition of your vehicle is good. Verify the fuel system, should have new or clean fuel filters, and then make sure the area is clean. Identify supercharger kit components. What else we got on here? And that's it. So let's get the front end of the truck in here and let's start supercharging. Talk about a tight fit. We got the truck in here, and so we're going to go ahead and try and do everything from right here. I'll try and move the camera around so you can better see when we're doing different things, but for now, I'm going to go ahead and disconnect the battery to be safe. I've left the driver's side door open so it doesn't do the auto lock in the process, and then once the battery's disconnected, I'll close that and we'll start tearing this thing apart. Yeah! Okay, some tools that are going to help you out along the way. One of these little pop the plastic things loose tool. You're going to be popping a lot of plastic things loose. Another thing is some masking tape for multiple reasons. One, we'll want to cover up the intake ports whenever we get the intake off. Obviously, I'm going to need a step stool because I'm not going to be able to do much like this. Plastic bags, man. I love plastic bags. Every shop should have plastic bags. Every garage should have plastic bags. Plastic bags, plastic bags. And what goes with those are not one, but 3 Sharpies. And the reason I get 3 is because I will lose 2 before this is over with and then find them when it's all said and done. So whenever I take parts like this off, I like to stick them in a bag and either write what it came off in the bag or use the masking tape and literally tape it to the piece it came from. So our first step is going to be popping loose these 4. There's always a notch. If you work from the notch side, it's a lot easier. And if you use one of these tools, you're less likely to destroy these things and have to replace them. These like to always come out. And by come out, I mean they like to break into 2 pieces. Just put them back together. Boop. And we'll throw it in the plastic bag. And once it's done, we'll set this aside out of the way because we're not going to need it again until we're completely done and we're reinstalling everything, right? Right? Hopefully. Okay, next we're going to have 4 10mm bolts Says that's all that needs to be taken off for getting the grill off. I don't believe that for a second. Whoop, plastic bag. Now let's see if we can get this thing out without destroying anything. I've taken these apart, not this body style, but I've taken these apart in the past, and it took more than 4 bolts usually to get these things loose. Yeah, I don't know what kind of crack they're smoking. Okay, there's a pop there. That means there'll be one there. There's one there. There's one there. Okay, so what now? Okay, Whipple, your instructions suck. Remove grill. By removing 4 bolts, and I'm guessing the rest is just popped in, but oh man, I don't want to break anything. Okay, looking down in here, there is standoffs like right there where this is popped in. Wish me luck. There we go. Okay, we got pop-ins at the end of the lights. Okay. This one's still connected. Okay. Grab the light and see. Okay, there's another one down in the corner. So, this piece clips into this piece. This piece is attached to the fenders, at least on this model. They don't say anything about this. We might have to disconnect this whole piece so we don't mess up. This other piece. Now that I got it separated, let's see if I can get it to pop loose anymore. Nope. I don't know if somebody was just smoking crack whenever they wrote these instructions or what, but you're going to need to do some torque spits, 10 torques in the fender well, and then at least up top, I might have to take out some more. Let's see if I can figure out how many bolts there are. There's 1, 2, 3 bolts to disconnect this from the fender on both sides. Okay. Don't be alarmed whenever these pop out. I'm not sure where they were, but oh, it's on the back side. Okay, so these go on the back side and go through the fender up top. How in the world they go, I don't know. Oh, there we go. Oh, I'm an idiot. Okay, so these screws did not need to be taken out because this can be disconnected from there. Okay, good to know. Because I'm not gonna lie, this side was a pain to get out because the windshield washer reservoir. The other side, you can get all of them from the top. Now, live and learn. There is a clip behind here that looks like this. It's got a little rubber gasket on it. And lo and behold, I broke one already on the other side, if you can imagine that. This side I got off by pushing in and pulling, and it kind of disconnected because the, oh crap, where'd you go? The flat part of this goes on the headlight side, and it kind of disconnected, but it still popped loose. Let's see if that's enough to get this completely off now. Should be. There we go. This might be one of those things that's better to have two people for, so you don't scratch something. But now we should be able to, there's that connector. Honestly, see if we can pop that loose without destroying it. Nope. Oh hell, that's a screw. Come on. You gotta be kidding me. That was never coming off. No wonder this one wouldn't pop loose. Man, I hope this one saves somebody a lot of headaches. Okay, after that 2-hour debacle of misinformation, thank you, Whipple. We're going to remove the active grill shutters. Listen, if you're ever at a party and you meet somebody and says, hey, I write the manuals for Whipple, say, hey, did you do the latest supercharger on the Silverado? If he says yes, give him a swift kick in the nuts for me, would you? Unbelievable. See if we can find on the bolts for this one. I don't know in what world they thought that you were going to even be able to remove this without taking that trim piece off. Frickin' idiots. Four, 5, 6, 7, 8. How many bolts does it say there is? 9. Where's the mysterious 9th one? Oh, there it is. Guessing there's an electrical connection somewhere on this thing. And it looks like it's right here. Easy enough. Hey! That was actually easy for once. Okay, disconnect the horn. Really, horn? You're going to be the electrical connector I have issues with? Let's take the bracket off. Looks to be 1 10mm bolt on a stud. And of course, the harness. Okay, there we go. Barely. Much better. I'm just going to go ahead and put this nut back on the stud instead of bagging one bolt. Okay. Remove the 2 supporting rods. They're 13mm. Oops. No, they're not. Your instructions are wrong. Once again, they're 15mm. Okay, they are 15. I grabbed a 14 just in case. I figured they're 15s because there's a lot of 15s. Okay, next step. A lot of stuff in the engine bay. Get our old trusty stool out here with our instructions. Disconnect the PVC. Woo! Stool tried to buck me. Disconnect the PVC and make up air fittings from the air cleaner and the valve covers. Here's the passenger side one. And let's see, is there another one? There's a driver's side one, but it's not going anywhere. It's not going to where the diagram says, so I guess we'll attack that later. Remove the 2 hose clamps. Where are those, 8mm? Oh, the 7s, okay. Get the one on the throttle body way down here. Come on, baby. What's going on here? How does this work? What do we have going on over here? What in the world is this? Help me to understand. Or just break. Well, luckily we won't need this piece ever again because I just broke it. I still don't understand what was going on with it. Okay, you gotta rotate it. It does rotate. Dumb. Okay, it's broke. I don't know how well you're gonna be able to tell, but this is going in the trash. Remove the upper firewall shrouding. It's going to be this by removing the 5 plastic push pins. Upper firewall shrouding. This says it's got 5. This is the one with, okay, there's one. These are big ones, big push pins. Like, just grab them with your hand kind of push pins. Okay, you guys probably are fine up there because you didn't need to come off. It's saying the shrouding will rub on the supercharger. And to remove it, and then you can trim it, or just apparently not reinstall it. I don't know, it says needs to be removed or notched by test fitting the supercharger during the installation. Well, that one broke. Hooray. Ah, son of a, why are you being such a pain? Getting this thing out without destroying it is going to be interesting. Oh. Yep. Just as I thought. This side got pretty torn. Well, obviously it got torn. I don't know what that was over. It was not coming out. We'll just kick that to the side for now and decide maybe later. Oh, it was going around this harness, which, I mean, you're SOL, you're gonna have to tear that harness. Okay, factory evap line, disconnect. Can't get to the rear yet. Then it says, disconnect the connector. Oh, that's the map. Well, we're going to need to disconnect it anyways. Okay, evap's disconnected. Now we want to take a 10mm and remove the solenoid. Okay, that's easy enough. Spoilers, it will be reused. Okay, disconnect the electronic throttle body. Let's just see if I can break that tab completely off. Wiring harness from the top of the intake manifold. Man, this was a lot easier on a lowered Sierra than it is on a Trail Boss. What is that? That's interesting. How does that come out? Map sensor we've already done. Release the wiring harness push pins from the intake manifold, from the coil wires. Basically just go down the manifold and remove all of the harness connections from the manifold cover, is what it's saying. It's not saying it very clear, but that's what it's saying. I'm about to have to just crawl up in this thing, ain't I? What you think about that, Silverado? Come on. You know what? Hell with these. I'm getting side cutters and cutting them. They're not going to be used on the Supercharger. I don't know why I'm sitting here fighting them. Okay. This is right. Think you're better than me? Zip tie. What do you think about that? Okay. Whew. Hey, we're on page 10 of 33. Remove the wiring harness retainer from the rear manifold cover. You are smoking crack. You are not getting back there, I know for a fact. And removing that. So let's go ahead and remove the 4 10mm bolts that holds the cover on. Then we can get access to that thing. Like, give me a break. These bolts can go in the junk pile or your bolt bin. Honestly, it's almost easier to remove an intake manifold without instructions than it is to read instructions and try and follow them. Especially instructions that are as bad as these. You're better off just, maybe this is the place where you should have said just remove intake manifold. I don't know. Where's my red tool? Let's see if we can get this back in here. Because it's not wanting to come without popping these loose. Oh, have this thing pop loose and go flying through a table like I'm on WWE. You're about to see me get really, really angry, folks. What in blue blazes is going on?
Many unbearable hours later.
We'll be honest with you. That was terrible. This is probably one of the worst things I've ever done. This engine is basically like a cab over. It's a solid 1.5 feet back there, so getting the intake manifold cover off was impossible. I tore it in half, and then even then I had a hard time. I just had to manhandle it. I was able to get like 2 of the 3 or 4 pins that was holding the harness connector on the back of the intake manifold cover off. Then I just grabbed it and yanked. So in the directions, the next step is to remove the intake manifold and then take off the throttle body. What we're going to do though is be smart. We're going to take off our MAP sensor. And we won't be reusing it, but save it. This is probably, well, it's a 3-bar, so it's not a T-map. About to say maybe it's a T-map. Then we're going to go ahead and take our throttle body off to get it out of the way. I don't know if we reuse the bolts on this or not, so keep them with throttle body. We will be reusing the throttle body, of course. Oh man, I'll be honest with you, if I ever were to do something like this again, I would get an engine bay creeper so I could lay down on it, because life would be so much easier. Let me get an extension. We can probably get by with just the short because the long's not going to get the rear bolts out. If I remember right, these bolts are captured, so they don't need to come all the way out. Yep, okay. So just get them loose. We got 10 of them, 5 per side. And then we should be able to go ahead and lift the intake manifold out. Once we've done that, make sure it's clean and throw some, masking tape. Here we can finally get this other pipe off. Throw some masking tape on the intake ports. Might have to take a shop towel and some brake clean and wipe them down so it, you know what to do. This part's easy. Do this part. You can figure this part out. Okay, once you get the intake manifold out, pay attention to where the gaskets are. You don't want to lose those. I'm pretty sure you reuse them. And I was wrong, those bolts are only captured from the top. They all fell out whenever I flipped the intake manifold over. I don't know if it says anything about the insulation, but we're gonna go ahead and get rid of it. And then there is one more piece. Nope, that's the metal thing for the high pressure fuel pump. So we're gonna get any leaves and stuff out of here. As I said, we'll get a shop towel with some brake clean, wipe it down, and cover up the intake manifold. The other thing it did say to do was to take the belt off. This is a stretch belt, apparently. I did not know that they were using those on these now, but from the looks of it, yes it is. So I'm just going to cut it off because we're not going to use that belt, and the new belt has tensioners. So let's go the easy route. Might need to get something that cuts a little better than, there we go. Oh yeah, it's got some tension on her. And boing. Okay, belt out of the way. Yeah, buddy. Oops. Next couple steps it looks like are going to be done on the bench. It's installing things like the map sensor. Some of these hoses, we're going to be cutting the ends off of them and putting rubber hoses in them. That's pretty typical. Other kits do that. Just want to be careful. Use a sharp razor blade. Run a score line down there, and then if you need to, maybe heat it up a little bit, but they'll pop right out. Just make sure that you're getting the right hose on the right connector to go to the right place. And then let's see, yeah, next to this is all, honestly, it's just assembling the bottom side of the supercharger. So we'll switch over to the desk and shoot some video there. So I got all the hoses out of the hose bag. Went ahead and took all my gaskets out of the intake manifold so I get that out of the way. And the nice thing about it is these bags, these individual bags are labeled. So I know for the evap hose, which is this one. No, it doesn't look exactly like that. It's the only one that's this long. I know the evap hose is for that one. So, as I said, on these connections, what I like to do is take a razor blade, and I like to do like 2 or 3 scores beside each other. And generally, once I do that, I can just pop it out like so and have my 2 connections. So, let's go ahead, open this up. We've got a couple constant clamps, constant pressure clamps, whatever you want to call them. So I need to go get a pair of channel locks or something. I think I've got one of those clamp tools. I'm guessing it doesn't matter which end goes where on this one. So I do have one of those clamp tools. I just don't know where it's at. It's not that they're a lot of help in these kind of situations, but watch as I shoot one of these across the garage. It's going to be interesting. Okay, let's go ahead and just put both of them on. I'm not sure about the orientation. Man, these things sketch me out. I like to lubricate these. Come on, baby, you're almost there. Yeah, I might have to reclock these whenever we get them installed. Not the end of the world. Boom. Okay, that's one down, one to go. Okay. Ouch. See what the next step says. Page 12. Installed the supplied LT43 bar map sensor. It's already on here. You know what? I'm going to take a picture of that because the part number that it shows in the book does not match. The orientation of the map sensor does not match. The only thing that I can get from this is maybe this was from a pre-production model truck. I don't know. Like, there's so many things that just do not align on this. We can find the scaling for this sensor somewhere. There we go. So we can update the tune. So install the supplied map sensor extension harness. Map extension, it's in this baggie. So these are not labeled, just heads up. Interesting, interesting. Okay, this is so weird. And I'm not sure why they did this. This has a T-map in it with a 4-pin connector going to a 3-pin connector, which is perfectly fine. It just means that we're not using the temperature portion of this map sensor. But the cool thing is they do tell you to do this before routing everything. Now, okay, we missed a step here. No, we didn't. It's just that they're not in order. Disassemble the supercharger from the intake manifold mid-plate by removing the 4 8mm screws using a 10mm socket. Yeah, I don't think you're getting a 10mm socket on that. I don't know where, oh, mine's up there. I think you're going to need, okay, interesting, interesting. So the back ones are slotted. You gotta take the front ones out. One of the front ones is completely missing. Okay, okay, it's making more sense. Oh, there it is. I just didn't reach up there. So we don't have these other bolts in there. That's to indicate, hey, you've got to take these out. Let me go get a 10mm wrench because I don't think a socket's going to fit on there. And that is not a 10mm. Come on. I should have known that wasn't a 10mm. It does not look like a 10mm. It looks like a 13mm. No, 12. It's 12mm, folks. As usual, the instructions are incorrect. So, as I said, I don't think we have to remove the rearmost bolts because the unit is slotted. Should slide forward and come off. We're going to find out. But that being said, with the gasket in there, which I have not seen a gasket in any of these bags. Oh God, that's heavy. Oh my God. Oh God, that's a lot heavier than I thought. Okay. What in the blue blazes? There's just RTV. That's weird. And they like RTV'd half of this. I'm going to assume that they know what they were doing, okay? As dangerous as that sounds, we'll assume that they know what they were doing. Okay, so we need to flip this over and install our gaskets, and then we're going in with it. Okay, so that is significantly lighter. Gone ahead and put duct tape on, but it's coming off clean. There we go, okay. Oh, my light died. That's the problem with shooting videos this long. My lights are high power lights that require a lot of battery power. But the cool thing about this, so splitting it in half like this makes it significantly easier to get this thing installed. And I'll tell you a little secret. I didn't tape up my intake ports on my heads because I knew that this step was coming very, very soon. Now I am going to go ahead and clean them, wash them off before I install this, but our next step after we get all of our gaskets in is to lay this in and bolt it down. So I guess let's jump back over to the engine bay and take a look. Oh yay, I was not recording the entire time. So, couple things. We got the intake manifold in. Uses cap bolts, very nice, love cap bolts. They're a 5mm hex. Essentially you want to start from the middle and work your way out going back and forth, and you end up going to 130 inch-pounds on those. The other thing was the map extension harness. For some reason this tab on the bottom of it was too long. I don't know if you're going to be able to see or not, but the indexing tab was too long. I had to actually cut it off. I don't know if that's just a manufacturing defect or if it's the wrong connector or what. But with that in there, we'll let that go up the side, and eventually we'll come back and zip tie this up once we kind of get to that point. The next step is spark plugs. They supply spark plugs with this kit. And it does have a note in here, check the gaps, because they come at 0.52 gap and they need to be a 32 to keep from misfiring. If you don't have one of these tools, jump on Amazon and buy you one of these spark plug tools. They're lifesavers. I don't have this exact one, but I've got a cheap one that works great. So we're going to do the spark plugs next, and then after that we'll get into the accessory drive, pulleys and stuff like that. So, rock and roll. Okay, before we move back to the desk, I did forget one step. We made that, oh God, stupid stool. We made that evap hose. You want to go ahead and connect that evap hose on the back of the block and leave it loose for now. It'll go into the side of the supercharger. We've got our map set up. We've got our new spark plugs. So the next step is going to be on the table with the supercharger itself. So let's jump over there and take a look at what's next and try and figure out what's going on here, because this thing is skipping steps again. So if you're following along on your terrible, terrible instructions, we are around step 31, which we're going to be mounting the evap solenoid over on this side. Golly. Okay. So evap solenoid should go right there. And that line that we left loose to the rear is the one that connects to this. Uses the factory hardware. And I think we should be able to reach this with the stock connection. That's so weird. What is happening here? Wait a second. Did I miss something here? I mean, this evap solenoid is sitting 1/4 of an inch off. What in the world? Where it goes, look at that. So the O-ring seals in there, but there's such a huge gap. I don't like that. Is there... Let's go. I'm going to go through the hardware here. 6 ORB plug. Okay, that is threaded, but I've not seen anything to say to plug that. And I have a sneaking suspicion we're not going to. Oh, no, okay. So there is a straight that goes out of there. Needs some Teflon. And then there is a 90 that comes out of the other side, and the plug goes in the other side. Of course, on the photo with this, showing the straight, you can't tell that the evap has a 1/4 inch of gap.
A few minutes later.
Okay, I'm not finding any kind of spacer in our bags. Let me throw some of these away. Believe it or not, this is a clean workspace for me. We've got a whole new PCV hose. We've got ends for that one. Reservoir vent hose. I don't know. I'm not seeing anything. We're going to do it. I mean, as I said, I'm not worried about it. A, it's on the vacuum side, and B, the gasket is sealed tightly against the inside of the hole. It's just weird that there's a huge gap there. I don't like it. I'd be interested to hear from somebody else whether they got a massive gap in there or not. But I guess we should go ahead and do the brackets now. Get those out of the way before we throw this in on the top plate there. There's a couple other small steps that we need. It's so weird here. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this, but it's literally telling us to hook up the evap solenoid, and it shows it in the engine bay, and then the next photo shows that it's not even installed yet, and it's telling you to do stuff before you install it. And then the next page is whenever it goes into actually putting the gaskets on the lower piece to install the top piece. Like, step 31 is so discombobulated. So we're going to go back to 29 and do 29 and 30, which are the brackets and the idlers. And I hate to break it to you, this stuff isn't going to be any clearer. I was going through the instructions yesterday, and like, we do 29 and 30, and then we jump ahead to 42 before we start doing any more bracket stuff. Like, why would we not just go ahead and do all the brackets at once? I understand waiting to install the belt. Like, that makes sense, but... And then, like, the parts that go on besides this, the elbows and stuff, why are we waiting to put those on, but we go ahead and put this on? And in fact, on step 52, where they're telling you to put the barb on, they show this is not being installed. So I'm taking it back off so it doesn't get broke during the process. And I'm going to put it right here with the bag that goes with all the plugs and stuff. And we'll do that after we get this installed and out of the way. But let's do brackets. Okay, I just don't know how well you're going to be able to see what we've got going on with the brackets. Honestly, I need a camera guy. So if somebody wants to come be a camera guy. Looking at the instructions here though, we're going to need to do step 30 before we do well, no. We've got to do 29 before 30, but I'm just afraid that we're going to get this thing in there and not be able to get the idler pulleys. But we're going to follow the instructions, probably to our own detriment. And should be this bag of hardware. And we're looking for some spacers. Okay. 2 spacers. I think this is it. 2 aluminum spacers behind the plate. Secure the lower mounting points with the 8x130s. So there's 4 8x130s. We need 2 of them. That's how you can tell which ones are which. Okay. Cap bolts. Probably going to need a different sized Allen. Yep. Okay, these are 6 Allen cap bolt. And we need to get the spacers out. Don't go anywhere. And 2 aluminum spacers. Here's the thing. I can't tell if bolts need to be removed because it doesn't say a damn thing about bolts being removed. Had to remove basically the upper water pump bolts from both sides. Of course, that was not in the instructions. I ran the bolts and spacers in. I've left it loose until we get the pulleys. There's 3 idlers that are supplied, 2 smooth, and they're the same, and 1 belted one, or ribbed one. Ribbed. So we're installing the smooth ones. Where'd that bag of hardware go? Okay, here we go. So we're going to have a round and an oblong and another round, a small round. Small round. Well, fine. The other one, are we missing hardware? What is happening? Okay, only one up. Oh, okay. I'm starting to catch up here. So, I think. Okay, for the first pulley, we need those 3 items. This is going to be the seat, goes in the back, and the cap in the front, and this is a T-nut, T-plate that goes in the back of the bracket, like so, to make it adjustable. What I don't get, okay, looks like there is the non-adjustable pulley has a threaded seat. So we're looking at 1/2 inch by 2. And there's 2 of those in here. And it should be these. So if I run that through like so, that should fit on our T-bolt. Okay. Let's get this first one started. And with the T-nut, the hole goes on the right. Okay. So for the other one, okay, we can get to that top hole still. I don't know what this collar is for. There's an extra collar in here that's not mentioned. But the other pulley just has the base and the cap and will bolt straight into the bracket. Right here. Okay. So now that we know that that's all good, I think we can go ahead and tighten down. We've got to get, there'll be a bolt that goes in there, a cap bolt. Let's see, cap bolt, pop, pop, pop. We'll just figure it out. It's gonna be this big one, which means I'm gonna need a completely different size Allen wrench, of course. We should be good to go ahead and tighten these things down now. And this is going to be what, an H8? And these are at 35 foot-pounds. I don't know if these are supposed to be Loctited. Nothing's been labeled for Loctite in here. Even though it says to use Loctite in the manual, not a single one has been labeled as needing Loctite. So who knows? What I'm trying to say is, when in doubt, throw blue on. You're not going to hurt anything by putting blue Loctite on. Don't always need red, but better to throw some blue on and have it than to throw nothing on and need it. Okay, so it says to leave the adjustable one loose till you get the belt installed. There's also an idler, so I'm not sure why you would do that. There's where it's talking about mounting the evap solenoid, which we are going to do after we get the unit on. It says to install the half inch by 21 cover with the 90-degree quick connect fitting. I mean, I'm assuming it's this one because it's 21 inches. One fitting's loose. Route open hose in under intake manifold to opposing sides for future installation to air intake tube. Okay, so we're going to route it underneath. And click it on. Okay, we're good. We've got that one open. It'll go into the one that goes into the air intake duct. The 3/8 by 24. Wait a second. 3/8 by 24. Pre-install 3/8 by 24 and route it to the other side. Okay, there's the bypass. This is not right. Because 70 or 54, install the 3/8 by 7.5 inch hose to the left-hand valve cover barb. So it's wanting you to take the barb out, which I think we have not done yet. I believe it's, no. Nope, okay, so that's the other side. Okay, so actually it'd be this one. So it wants us to go ahead and install this side onto the fitting. I don't know why they call it a 3/8 by 24 inch. It's clearly not 24 inches. But why did they do anything on this? Of course I lost my razor blade. Okay, so there's the fitting installed. Says to route under the intake manifold. I have no clue. That makes no sense because that goes straight over to the blower. Oh, this is amusing. Step 34 tells us to take that installation off, which we did back on step, I don't know, step 11. So step 11 and step 34 are the same. Okay, now we're going to the O-rings. says to apply a heavy layer of grease lubricate to help secure the O-ring in place and ease installation of the supercharger. Now mind you, we still have our bolts set up in the back. We're going to need to grease the channel and our bypass hole there. Okay, let's just throw some nastiness in here. Okay, there's something else that we need to talk about. While I'm greasing this up, we haven't ran our coolant hoses yet. We should probably do that before we get the supercharger in the way. What do you guys think? Once again, another step out of order where they'll probably get us there eventually, but they'll show that the unit has not been installed yet. In fact, I'm almost 100% sure that's the case from peeking ahead. So much stuff out of order on this installation. Now, if you've ever installed a ProCharger kit, you're not going to have this problem. I've done a couple of them. Man, the instructions are straightforward, step by step, in the right order. This is my first time doing a Whipple, so I don't know if this is the norm or if this is just for this truck. Yeah, I'm a little less concerned about that one since there's going to be a O-ring sitting in that channel. Okay. So step 37 says pre-install the intercooler hoses. So it has you put grease on everything, then install the hoses for whatever reason. I would probably go ahead and install the hoses before I did the grease. That's just me. Okay, installed the supplied 180. From what I can tell, everything has its own clamps ready to go. Install the supplied 180 degree 3/4 by 71 inch. This is not 71 inch. Okay, so one of the other hoses connects to this one. Here's the 90, which is going to go off the left-hand side of the unit. 71 inch. Oh, wait a second. There is a separate 71 inch. Ha-ha! Put those in there so I don't get mixed up. I was like, that doesn't look right. Okay. Well, thank goodness I put grease all over everything before doing this. So now I'll get grease all over me. Oh, don't explode. Come on, get on there. Okay. Freaking grease. Okay, there's that one. Peace. It's out of here. Okay, the next is just going to be that little 90. So let's put these in my pockets so I remember what goes where. Okay, the 90 by 10. be the left-hand one. Okay, that should be good. Sticking up a little higher than probably want to, but it goes to the reservoir, which is a little higher, so it'll all work out. Okay. Supercharger must be filled with oil. Supercharger shipped without oil. Oil's in a separate bottle. Boop, 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 boop. Assume it's either a 5. Should be R4. Or it's SAE. 3/16. We have a winner. It is a 3/16 Allen. And essentially we should be able to just squirt this whole bottle in here. We've got a sight glass here on the rear that shows you oil level, but this bottle is measured out, so it should take the whole bottle. It's a little high on the sight glass, maybe, but it says use the whole bottle, so we're using the whole bottle. Okay, I believe the next step is to put our gaskets on and get ready to drop this thing. So we've got a separate O-ring bag here. It's got some small ones. I wonder what these small ones are for. -6. It looks, oh, it's the drain or fill plug O-ring. Now, we're on step 39, but we're going to have to go back probably and double check. Bypass, light amount of grease coats the bypass for easy installation, yada yada. We've got grease in there already. So we should be able to just pop this thing in and then coat it with the grease that remains. You gotta be kidding me. Come on, get in there. There we go, okay. So take some of this excess grease, run it on there, clean this up so it doesn't just get completely covered with filth. And let's do this big one. Okay, so I see the problem child. Problem child's going to be this front right corner. It's going to be the one to pay attention to. So much grease. Okay, so let's see if we can get this thing dropped on before that thing pops out again. Great time for the light to die. Okay. Go. Oh no, oh no. Come on. Oh crap. Oh, come on. Okay, the passenger side bolt was holding me up. Oh, come on. Really? Okay, did not loosen those bolts nearly enough. Okay, there we go. We're installed. We're installed. Okay, make sure if you leave the rear bolts in like I did, you really loosen them things up so you don't get in a bind. Okay, I gotta take a break. I gotta charge some batteries. I gotta take a dog to the vet. And then we'll jump back on this. Okay, I'm back from the vet. Hopefully all these stupid leaf blowers are not too loud. I mean, it's only spring. I'm not sure why people are running leaf blowers right now. We need to bolt down the unit. What is going on? What is this? Okay, there we go. So there's gonna be 2 bolts that are longer than the rest. Those are used to secure a bracket. It's going to be on the other side. It's going to be on the middle 2 bolt holes, so you're not going to be able to see that because I'm not going to move the camera and lighting over there. Sorry. Oh, I'm just trying to get to a stopping point tonight. Oh, it's always something. Here's the bracket. It's going to go on the center 2 on the other side. I got to figure out why we're short bolts. Oh, it's the ones I took out earlier. I'm like, what is happening? I'm losing my mind. This is why we need to wrap up for tonight, because I'm getting tired and I'm going to make mistakes. To my credit though, it did say install 7. We're still going to be short 1 though. What in the world is that one for? Oh, no, I've got an extra one. Okay, as I said, losing my mind. So we're going to have to make this a 2-part video. Sorry if you're hoping to be able to watch all of this in one long form video. Doesn't look like that's going to happen. I'm only human. See what the torque ratings on these are. 17 foot-pounds. Oh, okay, okay. There's 2 other small bolts. I didn't know what they're for. They're for the torque converter reservoir. Torque converter reservoir. Are you hearing me right now, people? Are you hearing me in my insanity? As much as I can love to continuously just bust my hands against stuff. Okay. Oh man, this would be so much easier with an engine creeper. So, yep, goes this way. I'm going to go ahead and get a hose clamp ready because the hose, the 90 coming off the back, is going to go right into this. Okay. Come on, get on there. There we go. Oh, God. That might need to be adjusted a little bit more after I get the bolt started. Yeah, it'll be a lot easier with the bolts in place. Oh God, step stool trying to kill me. Okay, what's the next step? Okay, now's a good time to go ahead and throw our fittings on. We've got 2 fittings and a plug. Our straight fitting is going to go underneath our valve over here, our EGR valve, whenever we get it installed. Don't forget to use some thread tape on these so they don't leak. 2 wraps, that's all it takes, 2. Trust me. That one will go in the bottom hole, like so. Probably don't have, ouch, a wrench. Man, I'm just beating myself up today. In fact, I haven't had it to use a crescent until now. Is impressive. This is normally the first thing I go for. Okay, 1 down, 1 to go. Now on the other side, the 90-degree goes in the front port and the plug goes in the back port. So, just a heads up. Probably not a huge ordeal. I don't know what the insides look like. There's only 1 port that the 90 will fit in, to be honest with you. Let's go ahead and get this other one out. Okay. And we're going to want this 90 pointed down. Okay. Last but not least, our plug has an O-ring on it, so we don't need to worry about that. Pretty sure it's the same size. No, it's bigger. About to say, I think it's the same size as the one as our oil fill, but it's not. 1/4 inch. Come on, get started in there. There we go. Okay, what's next? Pretty sure this is designed to keep stuff from going in the intake. And if anything, it's going to be what goes in the intake. And of course, it's going to be a huge pain in the butt to get off. While we're here, we might as well plumb this up. This is the bypass, and it goes from the 90-degree over to our regulator. It's kind of like a wastegate for superchargers. Comes with a couple zip ties. Ugh, thing stinks. So it'll go on here like so. Point it down, and another hose out of the way. Let's go ahead and get our solenoid on here before I forget. And I think it's designed in a way. Oh no, our connection's not going to reach. There's got to be an extension for that somewhere. It's worrisome. Worrisome. I'm not finding an extension for that connector. This is our throttle body extension. I want to go ahead and get it in place. Route it underneath. We'll just set it over here for now. I don't know what we're supposed to do about this. This solenoid line is nowhere near long enough to reach up there, and they did not give us an extension. Here's our PCV hose. That's going to go from the valve cover over to the PCV valve. That seems way too long. Oh, goodness. What am I missing? Here's our pump control. Pull it out and make sure there's... Okay. Here's what's going on. So our pump control... Oh, there you are. Sorry. Okay, let me hold on. Let me get in focus here. Let me talk about this for a second. Okay, where are we going? Yeah, wrong way. There we go. Okay, so our pump control harness. We've got a relay, got a fuse, ground, and well, one's ground, one's power. I'm guessing the bigger of the two is power. And then we've got our pump connector. On the far end, we've got a PVC solenoid, EGR solenoid, wherever you want to call it. Probably the EGR solenoid. This is a short pigtail that goes between it and the factory connector because that's what gets the turn on signal for our relay. So we can go ahead and leave that for tomorrow. Now that we know what's going on, now we got to see if we can get this hose. Wait a second. No, that's not right. Reservoir hose. Line. What is going on? Something's Something fishy is happening here. Oh, okay. I see what's going on. So, let's come back to the engine bay. Okay. This connection that we left loose in here goes into there. And then our spare line is going to go from this. Apparently we did not need this connection. So we should be able to pop it on there and pop it on there. It's kind of a awkward position it's in. It's a little bit too long, but it'll work. Okay, we got about 13 minutes left. I've filled up a terabyte video card. Okay, so we got 13 minutes left. I'm going to rush. We're going to put our spacer on. This thing adapts from our throttle body to that. It's got beveled screws in there. Pretty straightforward with the beveled screws. Then it's got new bolts for your throttle body. It's got a cutout for your OEM gasket. Oh, there goes my stock screws. And the big thing is that the motor side goes towards the firewall. So you want it going that way whenever it's all pieced together. So listen, this is going to be the end of the first video. Okay, it's day 2, we're back. I decided against making this as 2 separate videos. I'm just going to finish this thing out. It's going to be one video. When we left off yesterday, we were installing the throttle body. No big issues there. The spacer, the thick part goes on the bottom, the thin part on top. You'll see what I'm talking about when you go to install yours. As I said, the motor side goes towards the back, and then once you get that, you can go ahead and hook up your throttle control cable. It'll be right there. I did have to kind of push this hose out of the way to make room, the one that goes from the valve cover over to the supercharger. So looking at what we've got to do today, the next one is swapping the pulleys on the idler tensioner. So there's some funky stuff going on in the instructions here. You're taking a smooth pulley off for one that has a ribbed belt on there. And in the instructions it tells you to pop a washer off this. It won't be used. The only reason I can think that it says that is originally they planned on you reusing this pulley instead of just supplying you with new ones. And oddly enough, there is a extra kind of backing our front spacer, but it doesn't go on with this pulley or else there'd be too much slack with the pulley. The bolt that came off the idler will sit down and sit on the bearing inner race perfectly fine. So that shouldn't be an issue. I just want to point out a discrepancy in the instructions that might be a little confusing. So the next step that we have is installing our tensioner plate spacer bag, and it's going to be another one of these ordeals you're probably not going to be able to see very well. It's down below the water pump, and it's at the 5 o'clock range of the water pump. Your spacers and the bracket itself are in a separate bag. The hardware is in the bag with all of your original bracketry hardware. And so you've got 3 bolts. Looks like 2 of them are the same size. They're all cap bolts. And then you've got 1 for mounting the idler assembly once you get the bracket in there. So that's this one here. I'm going to go ahead and set that aside in the idler assembly, and we'll just focus on getting this in. Let's see what size hex these are. Not that size. I told myself I was going to clean up my workspace before I got started today. Then I started looking at it and I said, nah, I'm not. Okay, they are an H6. So I'll put my H6 there. By the way, you'll notice I did get the truck back in the garage. It is raining outside. With the throttle body on, I disconnected the MAF to fail it over to SD mode. Took a couple cranks to fail the MAF, but then it fired up and I was able to go ahead and back the truck out. These trucks, these newer trucks, won't let you shift into neutral unless the engine's running without a GM scan tool. And I wasn't about to pay for the scan tool subscription just to back the truck out. Where's the instructions at? I'm going to need to be able to see where this bracket goes to get an idea. Okay. Okay, so the bracket wasn't all that bad. We're going to go in with the idler. It's interesting. This idler doesn't have a keyway on it. Oh, yeah, it does. It's upside down, Kyle. Don't be a dummy. Haha. I was like, why does this idler not have a keyway? Man, this thing's going to be a pain in the butt to get a belt on. I can tell you that much already. Hey, don't forget, whenever you're running these bolts for this bracket down, this is aluminum, man. Don't go crazy on the torque. It only calls for 15 foot-pounds. Let's see if I can drop this. This one's 18 foot-pounds. Take a little more. It's going into billet aluminum. 15. And okay, finally the step we've all been waiting for. You, me, everybody else. It's time to put the supercharger pulley on. So it specifically says in the instructions, no Loctite or thread lock is required on these. So everybody's feels the need to throw Loctite on stuff like this. It's not needed. Save your Loctite for later. And these are H5s. Where's my adapter? Okay. Let's throw an extension on there just to make it easier to thread these in. 4.625 inches. What do you guys think? You think that we'll stick with 4.625? I don't know, I think this is supposed to be around 7 PSI of boost. For this truck, which is my work truck, my daily driver, we're probably not going to go crazy and pulley this thing down like we have other vehicles in the past. We're not trying to create another Silverado and run over 20 pounds of boost on a little 5.3 direct injection motor. So I suspect that this will be small enough. 119 inch-pounds. I've actually got my inch-pound torque wrench sitting right here, so might as well do this one right. I don't know why I feel the need to do this one of all that I've done so far correctly, but let's do it. 119 inch-pounds. Here we come. So let's go to 120. Where's 120? There it is. Okay, I assume that's it. It's inch-pounds, who cares? Send it. See if we can. Oh yeah, we can totally hold the pulley. Don't forget to set your torque wrench back to 0. If you don't set it back to its lowest setting, it will skew off your readings over time. So it's imperative you set it back. I think we're about done with the engine side here. Belt routing. Okay, so it's going to be a 94.7 inch long belt, 6 rib, so a K060947. Oh, this is going to be fun. So it goes around the crank and the water pump. Ugh, okay.
10 hours later.
Okay, so as they say, third time's the charm. 950 belt instead of a 947. Let's give this a shot. Pull the focus to the okay. I tell you, if this thing throws belts, it's going to be because of the tensioner. Just do not like that spring tensioner setup at all. What do you know? 950 goes right on. Imagine that. Okay, now we gotta tighten down this bolt. Nope, wrong size. Where's the right size? For the sliding pulley. But what I'm gonna do is lean on the tensioner. If you ever dealt with the Supercharger, you know that throwing belts can be the smallest adjustment. Doesn't take much for these things to start tossing belts. Double check to make sure everything's centered. We're good. Okay, on to the next step. Okay, on the top side, we got a couple more things to do. We've got this line that goes from the left-hand valve cover over to an open port. We're going to need one of the 90s that we took off of the other hose, and it's going to go into the bottom, boop, like that. So, shouldn't be a clamp on this because it's going to be under vacuum. So we'll leave that facing up. Go ahead and get our hose clamps ready. One for there, one for there. Now we're going to have to take the top of the airbox off, which isn't a big ordeal because this thing came with a nifty new filter to go in anyways. So let's see. Got screws, flathead Phillips, 7 or 8 millimeter. Actually, before we do this also, it does say, double check these hoses and cables down here to make sure nothing can get into the pulleys. Doesn't look like they can. I'm going to go ahead and throw a zip tie on. Yeah, okay, so now nothing's going to be able to get over into that. Stock performance. This air filter alone looks like it's going to give us some power over the factory style. Yeet. Okay. Why do I have a sneaking sensation? Let's go ahead and disconnect the map. This looks like it's going to be a huge pain in the butt. Okay, let's go ahead and do that push fitting and get this out of the way. Okay, we're on the throttle body side. I don't like that. I want that hose clamp orientation to be the other way. It's just personal preference. Okay, there's that one. There's that one. It matches. Okay, that's going to go together fine. This is what I was afraid of. Okay. Okay. Get in your grooves. Okay. It's in the grooves. Not all the way. Gotta lift up on the other side. Okay. Make sure we plug our mass airflow back in. So we're pretty much done on the top side. Couple small things left to do. Obviously, we gotta run our coolant lines. We've got another coolant line that's going to be going off of our reservoir down to our heat exchanger once we get mounted up. We also have a vent line or an overflow line. And then once all that kind of gets in place, we also have the electrical harness to run, which where they say to mount that is not going to work, I don't think. Maybe it'll work right here. And then we'll run that cable over and connect to our EGR valve. So all this stuff for the most part, once I get these tightened up, we're done on the top side. The end is in sight. We just got to do the front stuff. So I'm going to rearrange everything so you can see what's going on up front as we do that and run these lines. I'm also going to clean up. There's some connectors on here that can be removed that were not used. I need to zip tie up a couple harnesses back there to clean up that side. So we're about done. So finally, the moment I've been waiting for, being able to work on a stool. Let me get caught up, make sure I haven't missed anything. Nope, we're good. Okay, so we're to this last part of installing J-clips in these holes down here. And there's a diagram. I sure hope the diagram's correct. So going off of the position, where's my razor blades at? Okay, here we go. Let's do this. Let's get all these J-clamps out. Okay. So, there's going to be one directly under this one. It probably helped to install it the right direction. There are holes that we're going to have to go through, it looks like, on the frame. Is that just the ones that we're going to? The ones with the 4 with holes. Okay, so that makes it easy to figure out which ones. Finally, something about this kit that was well designed. Okay, now install 2 rubber bumpers Do I have rubber bumpers? Oh, yep, they're in this other bag. Install the 2 rubber bumpers to the heat exchanger brackets to the driver's side. So whenever these come out of a bag, they're labeled driver's side and passenger side. I'm 99% sure this is the driver's side. So there's a rubber bumper there. Install the 2 rubber bumpers to the driver's side heat exchanger bracket. Slide the hook in over. Wait a second. Come on. So the hook end goes over. Okay, so that's going to work. So you want to install one facing the condenser and the other one facing the cooler here. And then line it up with these holes down here. This is so confusing. The one that there's more of in here is the one that we want. I don't know. I guess. Seems kind of hokey. Doesn't say to use washers. There are washers though. These instructions are not very clear. Let me skip ahead. Okay, there's where the washers are used. The washers are used on the heat exchanger. Okay, so we're good there. Get these 2 started. Tighten them down. Next, it's going to have us remove this bolt from the cooler. We are going to reuse it for the left-hand bracket. Hopefully you can see the one that I'm talking about over here. Okay. So now, looking at this, install the passenger side bracket into the 2 previously installed J-clips. Secure using 2 more of the bolts. And the stock heat exchanger bolt, much like I suspected. Okay, yep, that makes sense. Okay, so here's the thing. I've got a bunch of seam sealer right there I'm going to have to remove. Let's see if we can make that work. I think we can. Okay. Why do I feel like I'm using the wrong bolts? Bracket's got a little twist in it. Okay. Next step. Remove the plastic push pin, securing the rubber down here in the corner. Okay. This is needed for the hose routing, so the hoses are going to come down through here somehow. This is gonna be a tight fit, let me tell you. It's gonna be a tight fit. Next is the pump bracket. I'm guessing. I better double check, but it should be. Yep, okay. Ouch! Okay, there's one started. Let's get the other side. It's two started. Luckily, there's one right behind this air duct. See if we can get it kind of out of the way, maybe. It's held in with a push clip. That should be good enough. It's going to be a tight fit, but super tight fit. Okay, that side started. One more. And the big thing, whenever tightening these down, we want to make sure that these holes get centered in the brackets. So I'm going to send a couple of these with my electronic ratchet. Okay, that's actually working out better than I thought because of the flexibility on these. See, like that one did not really get into the hole, so might have to back this one off a little bit so we have some flexibility on this top one. There we go. Yep, that's exactly what we have to do. Boop. Now that one's going to be a pain. Oops. Well, that's one way to do it. Just jerk on that thing until it pops out of place. Okay, now we gotta try and refit this duct. Oops. Oh, that's easy. It just, literally, it's not even press fit into the air box. So yeah, take out this push pin, move the duct out of the way. Then when you're done, just put it right back in. Okay, so apparently this one does go to the top. No. Something's not making sense here. Something's wrong in the instructions. Oh, okay. So this one is longer because it's going to go down and then up. It's really weird though because it's showing this coming out of the reservoir at an angle. Okay. Wow, that's terrible. Why do we do it in this order? This straight piece goes on the pump. We're not going to be able to get to that. God dang it. These stupid instructions. I don't believe any of this. Okay, so this part is terrible. And it's like, make sure there's no kinks that interrupt flow. And it's like, could you have chosen a worse way to route these hoses? I had to pop 2 more push pins out of this upper one to even get the long hose in here. And you want to, coming from the engine bay, fish it as directly as possible without getting interrupted by anything. I mean, that makes sense. That's common sense. So once I got that in here, that wasn't bad. The other hose, I had to remove. Here, let me get the chair out of the way. I had to remove the pump from the bracket, of course, but with it removed, I think we can get it on. I don't know that we can get the clamp on. And of course, I don't think the pump's going to come out. This is going to be a pain. There we go. That should get on there. Okay. So I'm actually going to do it this way. I'm going to put it on the pump outlet. Slide it over. And so we're not hooked up on the reservoir. In fact, we don't have enough slack because I've got all the excess slack pulled underneath here to try and get it over the inlet of the pump. Why is this not go? Okay, there we go. Get our constant pressure clamp on there. Okay, hopefully that does not leak, because that was a huge pain. And unfortunately, not everybody's going to have that tool, and so they're going to just be fighting this thing. Ah, crap. Where's that hose at now? Oh, there it is. Okay. Now there is an opening to the left here that you can get your hand in to kind of help you guide this stuff along. If that was not there, this would be pretty much an impossible task. Now the hope is once we get this secured and get this fitting back on, we've got enough slack to reach our reservoir. And when that's all said and done, the big hope is that everything flows. We don't have any restrictions or kinks in the line. Because I'll be honest, it just feels like there's too many things that we're trying to get around back there for any of this to work right. Are we even recording? Okay, we are. One clamp to put on up top, and then we need to run our drain hose, which has not been talked about. It's somewhere in there. It's probably around step 25 for some reason. Okay, now it's time to do the breather hose. Run it to front of engine, secure with zip ties. To the other lines. Guessing they want the 90 on here, on this end. Just go somewhere, hose. Just quit being a pain. Just go somewhere. There we go. Okay, let's zip tie all this up. With some thick boys. Make sure to not over zip tie them. You guys liking the view? I don't know why we would need to remove that cover. Oh, because we need to wire up the post. Using the supplied push pin. I did not see a supplied push pin. So there's a little hole underneath the positive stud on the fuse box. Ouch! That we're going to use a push pin to secure the relay and fuse. See if I've got a spare. I'm sure I do. We're about to the point of saying just use a freaking zip tie. Oh my goodness. Okay, so there's a hole in the bottom of the fuse box that you can attach this stuff to. We've got our lead that goes under the intake manifold that's got to be fished across. We're going to go ahead and lay that on top. We've got this lead and this lead. The short one should be our power lead, then the long one should be our ground. I hope. And then we've got our pump lead. Hopefully it's easier to fish down than everything else. So the short one's ground for whatever reason, and the long one, which is really just going right here, why, is power. Just add it to the list of things I don't get that they're doing on this. I don't get it. Don't ask me, ask them. I don't have an answer for you. I'm sorry if none of this makes sense. I'm not sure why the long one is the red, but pull the sheathing back and verify which one's red, because in my case, the long one's red. It's the bigger terminal out of the two, which would make sense that that would be power, but let's be honest, none of this really makes sense. And it's telling us to take ground over to this engine support, our radiator support bar, whatever you want to call it. The one that goes over, we're going to route it alongside the factory harness, which is right here behind the belt. And we'll zip tie it to it. It seems to be the path of least resistance. Okay, go ahead and run this. Let's see where it says to run this pump harness. Route the two-way connector to the intercooler pump between the radiator and core support. Pop out this upper push pin. Make it easier to get that thing through. Oh yeah. Okay. Now, pop this back in. Run this overly long wiring harness for whatever reason over to the pump, and tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, a couple zip ties and we're done. Okay, I guess I need to get a Phillips head or a flathead, tighten down a couple of these clamps real quick. Give everything a once over. Make sure that you don't have anything that's going to get into a pulley or a belt. Kind of double check your connections. Everything's looking good. Let's get our funnel. Funnel. Funnel, funnel, funnel. So, we're going to eventually kick the key on, and that's going to start the pump, I hope. Now, supposedly this pump has some kind of magic voodoo electronic circuit in it that will automatically adjust its speed based on if it's cavitating or aerating. I'll believe it when I see it. And then once we get as much air bled out of this thing as possible, yeah, let's get antifreeze everywhere. Once we get as much air bled out as possible, get the thing started up and let it run, or get the pump started up and let it cycle for a while. Try to get air. Make sure and check it a couple times after the initial start, because there's going to be more air that ends up bleeding out over time. So I'm going to keep doing this for now. I'm going to stop the camera while we're just sitting here adding fluid, so you don't see me pour antifreeze everywhere every time. And then, so once you get to this point, I would slow down on how much you fill it up, because you don't want to overfill it. You're just going to puke it out on the ground whenever it heats up. We're going to keep on doing this until it's time to fire this thing. Okay, we've been cycling this thing for, I don't know, 10 minutes. It's about halfway to the fill line. I'm going to go ahead and cap it for now. We got enough fluid in there that's cycling. It's time for a first start. So let's fire it up. We'll first start it, then we'll look around and check for leaks. In fact, we'd be seeing leaks down around here and stuff if we had them. Look underneath the vehicle, make sure that there's not leaks. Yeah, nothing coming from the back of the supercharger. And here goes nothing. Probably need my keys. Where are my keys at? There we go. She's running. No leaks, everything looks good. Belt seems to be doing all right. So, we've installed a supercharger. Next step is going to be to just put everything back in reverse order. So I'm not going to show you that. Granted, I haven't updated the tune on this yet. If you have a tune from somebody, go ahead, download the tune into your ECU before you do the first start. As you can see, it will start up perfectly fine without doing that. I also have not put a wideband on this, so I'm going to take it pretty easy. I'm going to go in on my tune, make it super safe, and I'll do a video about that as soon as I get done putting all this crap back together. So I want to thank everybody who lasted this long for watching. Hopefully this helped you out. ABT, always be tuning, and thanks for stopping by the garage.